Alright, this is M-Dog. I want to give a quick update about this spot. I made a video of fishing here earlier. I think it's probably about 30-40 minutes long, just straight fishing here. And this one will be much shorter. I really just want to update you. I have a much better sense of this spot after spending some time here. I want to quickly show you my setup. At least this is on the main line I'm using. Old halibut pellets 18, freshwater krill 18, red krill dip, and then I'm using this krill mix that we were actually using over with the big head carp and buffalo spot. We do have a really overloaded Vinga setup on the main line. And for the most part, those are the baits I've been using on all three lines. A little smaller hooks on the second and especially the third line because my setups just aren't probably quite strong enough for this spot. I would say you probably want 3 setups that are as strong as my main setup, the first line. But even then, you're going to be hooking into some fish, some of the sturgeon species, and even some of the really large wild carp that are just going to be long fights, as you may see in this fish. Now this one is probably only, well, it's early, so I don't want to say anything for sure, but it feels like it's probably more like a 20 kilo wild carp. And that's just a guess, but again, I've been fishing here for a little while, and you start to get a feel for kind of what size things are. The other thing I would say is this spot is actually best at night. I think in my last video where I was showing this spot, I might have made the comment that it was slow at night. The night that where I first started the video, I didn't have many bites at all. But as I've been here for a while, I've seen that as you approach evening and then through all the way through overnight, especially the first half overnight, you actually get tons of bites. It's hard to keep up with them, frankly, especially if they're big fights like this one. We'll likely have fish on all 3 lines by the time we figure out a way to get this fish in, if we get this fish in. Now, I did have to Alt F4 one time. I had one fish that was, it was just like I had a Pontiac on there, a turbo Pontiac, and it headed straight for open waters, and there was nothing I could do. I fought it as best I could. I did slow it down a little bit, but by then most of my line was gone and just ended up having to either say goodbye to the line or Alt F4. Other than that fish, I have stuck with a lot of fights. It's not a very efficient spot in that sense. And this fish is starting to feel a little larger. It's burning up my reel. At least it didn't go to our open water. Maybe we can stick this one with this one a little bit longer. But it could still spool me. I mean, I guess one thing we could do is try to get on the other side of it and keep it in front of us as best we can. If it does go past this little island here, that may become more and more tough, but we'll see. But like this spot, I don't think I am going to make as much silver in this spot, even with a few decent sturgeon mixed in, which there's potential for that. I've caught, I think, 10 or 12 kilo Russian sturgeon here on the same baits that the wild carp are going crazy for. So you do occasionally get a sturgeon mixed in. But some of these big fish we're catching are just not very efficient for me, for my gear and my skills, whatever. And then the other thing I would say is, at least what it appears to me is that the wild carp are not the best fish for silver. I just don't think pound for pound, for the amount of work you got to do to get them in, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, if that's what's hot and that's what's biting and you want to go for big fish, then maybe it is worth it. Like I said, I mean, sturgeon are great silver. So maybe it's worth it in that sense. I thought we were far enough past this fish to try to send him back the other way, but Might have gotten here late. I don't know. Let's go a little farther than he is. Well, I mean, I don't know how long this fight will last. I guess this video could end up being pretty long. So if you look by weight, though, like 20 kilo wild carp has been on the heavier end of what I've seen. There's that 13 kilo sturgeon. But at least this time around, it's just been... One thing I've noticed is the bite rate is better than I realized. In my first amount of time here, it seemed like it was pretty slow. But in actuality, I'm burning through this bait. I'm burning through these PVA bags. It's been pretty quick, pretty consistent. We want this fish to start moving back the other way. I certainly do not want to drag him over this land, right? Well, at the beginning of this video, I said this was going to be a short video. I apologize. I can see now it's not. I mean, my options here are either just to turn it off and leave you wondering, or keep recording and see if we can get it in. See, I do think this is the better option, though, than allowing it to go into the open water. Because I'm not sure that I would be able to stop this fish yet. And so if it was in open water, it would just keep going potentially. It seems like, as it is now, it's on the other side of that island, and maybe it is just sitting there. It's definitely not running back the other way like I would expect it to. Maybe we need to give it some line. I'm not sure. We'll see if that gets it moving again. Okay, there we go. It is moving. It still feels like it's wanting to run left, though. Normally, if you pull in the opposite direction of the fish, it will eventually turn, start going the other way. Now I think it is. I honestly can't tell. Well, yeah, I mean, we have to make a decision. If it seems like we actually can start reeling in some, then we need to head back down so we pull it away from this island. This isn't near as strong or as hectic as the fish was that pulled all of my lines straight out. And I think it was this same rig. It was my Megara. We've got 70-pound line on here. All right, let's just see if we can start slowly pulling it towards us. We'll just slowly drag it if we can. I don't want to sit here all day just fighting this fish. We'll get to where the mouth of this channel opens and see if we can't just pull it towards us a little bit. It doesn't have that much line out. It's not that far gone, but it worries me that there's land between us right now. I think the fish might be a little confused. So a little bit further down here. Yeah, it is just... I can't tell where the line is. Where should we pull from? Maybe here. I really never dreamed this was about to happen when I started to record this update video on this spot, but here we are. And the other update would be is that it actually has worked quite well in moments where it has been a little slower to use the match rod to just down the path there, fish in the spot where we're getting the Kessler's herring. Over the last couple sessions, I've caught quite a few of those, some nice ones. Caught a weekly sitchel. So there is lots of exciting fishing to be done in this place. I think it's just a decision based on your gear and your tolerance for these big, long fish fights on if this spot is a good idea for you or not. So even when it's pulling, it's not pulling much. See if we can do the bear drag a little bit. Not every time, but sometimes when you drag it a bit and then basically get that momentum, you can keep the momentum going. Now, if you watched my video earlier, I was talking about how some people have gotten really good at reeling in really big fish, bigger fish than they should be able to reel in, by wearing the fish completely out. You have to know that it's not going to pull and fight you anymore. And then they lock their drag up and walk the opposite direction very slowly, literally dragging the fish towards them without breaking their line, and then slowly walking towards the fish while they reel in. And by doing that, they very slowly, literally like drag the fish towards them, which at that point is basically dead weight because they've fought the fish for a long time to wear it completely out. We're probably not to that point on this fish yet. First of all, it's not big enough that we're going to have to do that, I don't think. And I don't know that it's been long enough to say that it has no fight left in it. You want to really be sure that the fish has no fight left in it before you do that. Or you'll simply just snap your line. And I don't know how to tell you to find it, but like one of the people I've talked to about that did have a couple of videos out there of him doing that very thing with monster-sized catfish or sturgeons. Probably more sturgeons. But those are long processes that I think takes quite a bit of getting used to figure out how to do it. So we have half the line back in now. I will say this, even in this amount of time, it has stopped for the most part fighting. I want to find the... I'm sort of stuck in the ground here. There we go. I want to get off that edge. Get a little bit of elevation on it too. It still may hit that edge of the land there. which we'd really prefer not to have happen. So this is basically what you do. Now I don't have it deadlocked. I don't have my stuff deadlocked here. But we've dragged the fish towards us. See, there's some fight. We've dragged the fish towards us, and then we walk towards it as we reel as fast as possible to pull in that slack. But the difference is we don't have our friction brake maxed out to lock him in. And the reason why I don't is because he still has fight left in him, even just a little bit, and would just simply snap the line as soon as he starts to do this, which is just restrain, just struggle a little bit. All right, I think we have him past the part of that land and can start more safely pulling him towards us. Sometimes it is worth lifting the fish up. Oh, he still kind of feels like he's in that corner, doesn't it? If you can get them above water, it also seems to help. This would be a little easier if it had been our first line with the Vinga. Starting to move a little bit. So we definitely have him clear. And I think we've got him headed in the right direction now. Sorry about the constant beeping. I want to see him. I want to know if it's a wild or a sturgeon. The difference in silver can be tremendous. All right, let's go ahead and start our energy back up a little bit. So when you lift the rod like that, obviously you're using more strength. He has not actually pulled line out in a long time. It's not that he hasn't fought anymore, but he doesn't have near the strength he did before. And we've made really good progress, but there's still plenty of line left. Now, once he did clear that part of the island down there, we can walk him down a little bit and make this process a little faster. Or we should be able to. You want to be careful not to shift run too much, because you can suddenly not have any slack in the line. Is he still... Oof. He's about to surface, it looks like. Say it's a wild carp, right? It's not even that big. Just a fighter. Just a fighter. Good grief. So that's what you have look forward to in this spot. Pain and misery. And you'll catch a lot of them that are around that size. 6 kilos, 4 to 6 kilos. You'll see a lot that size. Okay. So it's going to be impossible for me to give you a per hour amount of silver because there were times that I've been working on other things, but I mean, I can show you what the fish I have from this session in my net are worth. And you can kind of see the bite rate from like how long's between different fish, although again, there were times that I was working on different setups and such, but I think overall in as much as it's still active, the big head carp and buffalo spot that I've showed you in other recent videos is probably better. So let's see, 24 minutes. I mean, there was a big break there, but I don't even know if I had the fish. I don't think I had. I think that's when I had logged out and logged back in and I was looking at stuff. I'm not sure. But you can see there's moments where every 4 minutes, every 1 minute, I mean, this was definitely like overnight time, right? 4 minutes. There's a break there of about 12 minutes, but it looks like I was mostly, so I don't know. There's a Russian sturgeon I told you about. That was almost 2 hours ago. So it wasn't a solid 2 hours of fishing, but 438 silver. Pretty good. Man, we're 1 sichel short of that order. Okay, we do have that order for 38 silver. That buffalo's order is tempting. It's only 3 kilo buffalo. That'd be easy in that spot. You know, by price, of course, the sturgeon's going to be number 1. Look, that sturgeon was what? Almost 10 kilos less weight than the wild carp we just brought in. And, you know, it's a lot more silver. So that's what I'm saying. I just don't know if the... Let's see. 118 gram black spined herring is worth more than a 7 kilo wild carp. Is that all we need to say? 421 silver is 421 silver, but I feel like you're really having to work for it there. And there's definitely some RNG on bites. But anyway, there's an update on that spot. I wanted to make one more video on it. I'm not sure. I'm going to keep fishing it. Again, I might, if I want to fish for silver on this map right now with feeder fishing, I feel like that big head spot might just be better. It's certainly safer with my gear based on the location of it. But as always, thanks for watching.